Good morning and welcome to Nanny Cooks from Branson, Missouri. I don't mind telling you, down here in Branson this morning, it is cold. The temperature is 5 degrees. The chill index is minus 18, and we are expected to have 6 to 8 inches of snow today. Now, as I began this video, I could hear the snow plow out in front scraping the snow, and we certainly do appreciate them. So with this cold weather, the tax offices and locations have been canceled. So what do we do when that's canceled? Well, we cook. So today I've got a treat I hope you will enjoy. We're going to make some bagels. This is a raisin cinnamon bagel that we made, and we had some strawberries left over from Valentine's Day. So we're going to make some of these today. But before I get started, I've had a real burden lately because ever since I started these videos, I've kind of walked on eggshells, not wanting to offend anybody when I talk about healthy eating and what we like to do. But I've been burdened about so many cancers within our family, within our friends, and it just hurts. You know, my husband had cancer and survived. He was diagnosed with cancer 10 years ago. My father-in-law died of cancer. I have a brother-in-law that's had cancer. I have another brother-in-law that's literally fighting for his life today with cancer. Also, sister-in-laws and nieces and people with young families. So what can we do in our own life, in our small way, to help prevent this? Now, I know God is the only one that knows the timing of these things, and we said our time's up, our time's up. And in fact, I go for a mammogram this week, and you're always a little apprehensive when you go that you'll get that dreaded call back. So none of us are totally immune from this, but I feel we can do things with our eating habits to help prevent this. You know, Mark Lowry has a song, the words in the song says, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So today I'm going to talk more about whole grains. You know, it says that 50% of the food that we purchase these days is processed food. And what is processed food or refined food? Well, in the flour land, processed or refined flour is flour where a lot of the nutrients have been taken out of it to give it a longer shelf life. Now, when we see flour, this is how it starts out. It starts out as grains. These grains that God provided for us are so unique. One of these tiny grains is loaded with nutrients, and then it is covered with a shell, which is the bran part of it, which a lot of times is stripped away in the food processing activities. Also, it has the germ in it. The germ, which is not a bad thing, it is loaded with nutrients. And again, when flour is processed, the germ is removed because that is what makes it go rancid. That's why you just mill a small amount of meal at a time that you need for that project. And when this germ is left in it, it goes rancid, like I said, and it reduces the shelf value of it. So a number of years ago, inventors learned a way to take out these nutrients from the flour, but then a lot of diseases started, like beriberi and pellagra. So the government made them enrich the flour. But today we're going to take these grains, and I have back here, I hope you can see it, is my grain mill. And it is what the flour we're using today was made from. We took these grains, get the lid off of here, and we ran it through the grain mill, and it comes out this rich, rich flour. And this is the flour that we're using today to make our bagels. So I'm not going to apologize anymore for using these healthier eating plans. Now, I'm not saying we're teetotalers. You know, I like white flour to make cinnamon rolls with, and there are other things that I can use this. But the main thing is what you do the majority of the time. It's like, you know, once in a while you gotta have candy bar, but you wouldn't want to eat them at every meal. So, okay, we have some dough that has been setting for our bagels. These bagels are very simple to make. I will post the recipe. It has water and salt and brown sugar and yeast and our freshly milled flour. Now, I have cooked or let this rise and stir in my bread machine. You can do it with a mixer, you can do it by hand, but I like to do it with a bread machine. Okay, after it has risen, we're going to divide this, a full recipe, you would divide it in about 8 pieces. But I'm just going to do a few for you today so you can see how it's done. Okay, this is the piece of dough we start out with. We use about 3.5 ounces per bagel. Now, I take my 2 fingers and I stick it up in the dough and just work my other hand around those 2 fingers, remove the 2 fingers and give it a squeeze. I'll have a pretty round circle here. And you can go ahead and roll it around a little bit, depending on how picky you are. Now, if my husband were doing this, it would be a perfect symmetrical round thing, but you know me, I'm slap happy. So, I put a little bit of olive oil down. I'm gonna flatten it with the palm of my hand. The next step, I take my thumb and my middle finger and I'm going to poke it as close to the center of this as I can, and then start spreading it out. Turn your finger and thumb a little bit and just keep rotating around till you make that hole a good 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, because as this rises, it will come together again. So you might think you have a big old hole there, but this is what you want it to look like. And then we let those rise about 15 minutes. Now, I've already made a couple of them up to show you. And over here, I have some boiling water solution, if you can see it there. This has water, honey, a little bit of salt, and 2 teaspoons of soda. We're going to boil the bagels a little bit before we put them in the oven. So these 2 I had made up earlier. So I'm going to put one of these in. I'm going to put the pretty side first, and we're going to drop it in that boiling water. Same with here. Now, if the center is closing up a little on you, just kind of spread it out some. We're going to let that boil for about a minute. We might rush it today. And then we'll turn it over and let it boil on the other side. Now you don't want a hard boil for these. Ooh, I just flattered that one. Okay, we'll turn that. Okay. After these boil a minute on each side, we are going to take it out with a slotted spoon and put it on a cooking sheet that has been sprinkled with cornmeal. And the reason we do that is so they don't stick on the bottom. Now I also like to put a piece of parchment paper down first to so the pan doesn't get so sticky. Alrighty. We're going to pretend these have been in on a minute on each side. Now this is really important. You want to be sure and get as much water off of it as you can. Now there'll be a little bit of foam on it from the soda. Now then, the soda is what helps it give a chewy, you know, if you bite into a bagel, you want to chew on it a little bit. You don't want it so soft that it just melts in your mouth. The next step is we take an egg white that has a tablespoon of water in it, and we're going to brush that all over these bagels. And since these are cinnamon bagels with raisins in them, I like to sprinkle a little more. Let me stretch over here and get it. A little more cinnamon sugar on the top. And this kind of crystallizes as you bake them and gives it a nice crunchy taste. We'll sprinkle the other bagel. Now I have a lot of recipes for bagels. There's a pumpkin spice that's really good. You can take this same recipe. You could put dried cranberries in it or blueberries. You could take this recipe and make a savory bagel. And you could put some onion flakes in it or onion powder within the mix too. So, but you can just make a lot of different kinds of bagels. They freeze really well. You bake these after this part is finished. You bake them at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes or until they're nicely browned. And then cool them. They freeze well. Whole. I wouldn't slice them before I froze them. I'd freeze them, let them thaw, and then slice them and toast them up, and they're really, really good. So I apologize today for getting on my soapbox. No, I don't. No, I don't apologize for getting on my soapbox. I have really felt burdened about this, and it's important that we eat our food that is as close to the way God made it as we can. We take time for other important things in our life, so why not take time to eat healthy? And I hope you have a great day, stay warm, and don't forget to check on your neighbors and make sure they're okay, because it is really cold outside. So until the next time, bye-bye.